Okay, I sped up this video and I'm narrating over it because actually recorded it without any sound because at the time there was a lot of activity going on, there was a lot of noise and distraction. So I just went ahead and forged ahead with the sculpture anyway, knowing that I'd probably narrate over it. So what I'm doing right now is I'm basically building the forearm, the radius and the ulna, the skeleton, and so that I could kind of give a little more context to the hand, um, so that I can make sure that I position things closer to the wrist and everything correctly. I plan on cutting off the majority of the arm. I just really ultimately want the hands, but I want that uh, wrist to be more accurate so that when I join the hands to a sculpture that has arms, it has a better chance of succeeding. So here I'm putting the tendons in. Um, I don't get them exactly right starting out, but I'm going by this drawing, the one that you see by Burne Hogarth, and it's not exactly right. But I can adjust that stuff later. So I guess right here I'm not really sure I guess I'm adding more form to the palm side of the hand. And maybe I'm looking for the palm, drawings of the palm, but I don't think I found really any. Um, I think I end up looking for, this is George Bridgman. The drawings are by George Bridgman from his book on hands. And George Bridgman was a well-known educator at the Art Students League in New York City, known for teaching drawing and anatomy, and taught many generations of comic book artists and illustrators. Um, all the top guys, all the top artists, I should say, not guys, men and women by that, but studied with George Bridgman. And he's got books out that you can get. And they're kind of idiosyncratic too. They're a little bit difficult to get through. And we'll probably use his drawings to do some anatomy demos. But I went through to see what his drawings would have to offer. That's not a bad drawing to go from right there, but it wasn't really what I was looking for. So I'm not sure what I'm doing here. Oh, okay. I made the palm of the hand smaller. So I had to move the fingers closer to the palm, just to make things more proportionate. And that's why you do the arm, because then you get a better chance to see what the proportions are uh, in total. Just repositioning things, and this is why I want to speed this up, because obviously it's just taking a lot of time. It's a little bit like watching a parking meter change, or paint dry or whatever they say. But you can see it's working out pretty well. That's a pretty believable hand, is mechanical. It's looking. I'm testing it out. Uh, Run it through Mesh Mixer to get it solid, see what it looks like. Sometimes you get through that simplification of it, you realize what's working and what isn't working. Um, and when we do the figure, we go through this process with the figure. We'll just use these hands. We'll use the skull that we made. We'll use these hands. So the next one I'll do is the feet, which is similar enough to the hands. So we'll at least have all that, and then we'll do the figure. And I guess it's my hope that I get that done before the semester ends. And so I'm testing it. This is just a test to see it's working. It's got a lot of promise. So for some reason I kept working on it. I don't know. I don't know what I wasn't happy with. Okay, there I'm adding the tendon over the knuckles. I guess I realized that was missing in the final result, which I think it added something in the final result. So, and that drawing, I don't remember who that drawing was by. Yeah, I don't know who that drawing was by that I'm looking at right now. I'm not sure that I got a lot of information that I could use from it. I mean, you can see it's an amazing drawing. And those knuckles are very similar, where it had the double sphere for the joints. I guess here I'm starting to scale things up a little bit, I think is what I was doing. I really don't remember what I was doing. At some point I decided to scale up the fingers a little bit. They seemed a little too skeletal. So I beefed them up a little bit in areas. I guess I'm trying to repose it. Not sure why. Oh, okay, that's what it was. Because I felt like I just wanted to test out a different pose. That was the only thing. I probably wanted to do a fist to see how that would work out. So maybe some of you can try that, turning it into a fist. See what happens. I think once you get this down, use your own hand as a reference. Stop using the Burne Hogarth drawings as soon as you possibly can, and use your own reference, is what I'd say. And that's why sculpting the left hand is also helpful, because you can just, if you're right-handed that is, then you can use if you're left-handed, well, you go to rotate and then press mirror, and it'll reverse it, it'll give you the opposite, and then you could sculpt on that. So yeah, sculpt the hand that you're not using. Use your hand as a reference. I think then the question is could you use this as a model that you can draw from? Could you do your own Burne Hogarth type of drawing from this as a reference? Now that you know exactly, not exactly, but you have an idea, a better understanding of his concept of forms of the hand, and you have your own model, maybe you can see what you can do to draw the hands. Then I think it really comes down to how you pose it, though. You can do all this right, but if you don't pose it in a naturalistic way, it might not work. So that's why using your hand is pretty important, I think. You see exactly what the movement is. So at some point, I don't know when I failed to point it out, but in Mesh Mixer, I used the plane tool in Edit. You go to Edit, and there's a tool called Plane, and that was where I cut it off at the wrist. So it was just the hand and the wrist. I got rid of the arm. Here I'm just showing what the hands is a pair. You sculpt the left, and then you press the symmetry button, and then it gives you, or I imported it as a symmetrical form. In that way, it gave me a pair of hands. It looks kind of lumpy here. I'm not happy. I think that's why I kept going. The key was to try to get make it solid in a low res, but it still maintains a lot of crucial information, so that there's not a lot of busy work to do at the end. Here I'm getting ready to do all the busy work to go back over it and recrease the definition, and really that undermines all the hard work of doing the spheres, so I wasn't too happy about that. Um, so I took a day off or something like that and came back and tried to finish it out again. Uh, yeah, I think I'd probably spend more time with the sphere aspect of it if I was going to go back into it with these sharp details, because I think there's a lot more I could get in there before I do that. So I had to figure out a different aesthetic for the end result. This wasn't what I was wanting, so. Yeah, it's a test. I do a lot of tests, and I'll label it as such. I'll label that it was a test. They're usually not usable, but you don't want to. I save it anyway, just to have a record of it. Sometimes the tests work out. So like that might not be a bad place to put a crease. You know, that kind of detail might not be bad. Something that's easy enough to go into and do. Yeah, it's kind of weird. You can see that the proportions of the middle phalanx is a little funny. That's why you spend a lot of time at the first one to get all the proportions of all the forms correctly, and then you could use that later, pose it, and it's always going to hold up. So in the beginning, you put more time into it, and it saves you time later when you use it. Um, that's the beautiful part about digital sculpting, is that everything you sculpt you could save on file and reuse. Okay, that's it for that segment.